School of Infantry, I didn't think they got enough training there. As far as I don't think it should be at Camp Pendleton. I think it should be out here. There's so much live fire that you can do out here, and I remember throwing rocks for grenades at Camp Pendleton because, you know, the hills were too dry, so they, you know, we couldn't even use blue bodies, you know, to pretend. We just threw rocks because why police call empty blue bodies when you just throw rocks? I mean, so that was ridiculous. There was things that we went out for, and we couldn't even use blanks for them, you know. So what training is really in that if you're not, you know, half the training that you need at that stage in your Marine Corps career, I think you need to have live rounds. You know, the more trigger time you get with live rounds, because everybody knows, okay, they give us blanks, well, who cares? Whatever. You're not going to hurt no one unless you point it at their face, right? You know, but everyone knows nothing's going to happen. When you have more trigger time with live rounds, that's when you know that, all right, let's be safe. You know, let's watch what we're doing. Let's be more, you know, less playing around. Let's get down to business. You know, that's kind of what I think about that.
What about other training that you had before you joined Lima 3-7? Was there any?
Straight out of SOI, or in SOI, I did the Recon Indoc, and I passed that, but I never really got to do much because at the very end of SOI, about 2 weeks before I graduated, I fractured my shin on a range run. I guess they call it a hike, but we were running with, you know, full gear on in our little jungle boots with no soles, so I somehow fractured my shin doing that. And I got out to Amphibious Recon School in Virginia, and I ran a PFT. I ran a 24-minute PFT, and I was like, that was bad. But after I found out that I had a fractured leg, then it made sense. But so I hung out there for a month, and all I got out there was basically book knowledge. But that was cool. I still carry that to this day. I still know, you know, the knots. They taught us all the 14 knots and stuff like that, and we had to time so fast and all that stuff. But as far as the PT went, they all got to do that, and I, you know, sat behind and answered phones. But I was out there for a month, and that was a good time. I still think that was my favorite time in the Marine Corps. Was that 1 month stint. But.
And what about training that you received after you got to Lima 3-7? Do you recall doing a CAX?
As soon as I got here, like I said, I still had a fractured leg, and I was on light duty, so while they went off and did CAX, I actually got stuck doing guard duty for the ASP out there by Camp Wilson. All I learned how to do out there was run a radio, but even that I still, you know, carry that knowledge to this day, because 5 weeks of sitting on a radio, you learn all the ins and outs. But that was I'm actually kind of glad I got to do that, because that's something nice for a. It's scary when you're a PFC getting on the radio for the first time and everyone sounds so professional, and you get on there and you're like, how do I say this? And they're like, dude, just say, you know, so and so to so and so. It's not that hard. But
what about SASO training? Do you remember doing that?
Yeah. Oh, I gotta try and remember back. Jeez. Seems like so long ago, even though it wasn't. It's just been so many things in between here and there. So much easier to do when someone else is like, oh, you remember, this is what, you know, like, oh yeah.
Yeah. What about lane training in the company? Did you do that?
I did both. And I remember jumping out of 7 tons a lot. I mean, they really made us think that we needed to jump out of 7 tons a lot. And all I remember getting out of that was sore knees. You remember that? Yeah, that was bad. Yeah. But we did a lot of notional stuff, and the notional stuff is cool when everybody understands it. You know, when everybody, okay, you need to do, all right, let's do this portion of it. All right. And then we're going to lead into this portion of it. But when we get to this portion of it, we're going to do this step second. So let's do this step legit the first time. All right, the second time, let's do that notionally and then lead right into this, so that, you know, we don't have to do this step 5 times, because when we get to this step, well, then we're going to do this jumping out of the 7 ton 14 times by the time we get to the last step of what we're doing. And certain stuff just, it was more painful than anything, you know. We didn't have anyone with experience that was teaching it to us. Now we don't have that problem, which is really nice because everyone, anyone has been, you know, over there. And so now people coming back, we're going to listen to them more, but with the unit that did the lane training and stuff for us, they had spent just as much time or less time over there than we did, doing the same stuff that we did, so that was kind of useless. But
can you describe what was the first billet that you had with the Lima company?
My first billet was rifleman. We went to Kuwait the first time. We